Welcome everybody to the Aetherius Society and to this introductory lecture to the Aetherius Society. You may have your own reasons for being here, whether it's a slight curiosity, whether it's just getting an email from somebody or an invitation for somebody. You may have come across the Aetherius Society before, whether it's through a website, other events, other lectures. But for some reason you're here to learn a little bit more, and I would like to hopefully try and teach you or show you a little bit more of what the Aetherius Society is, give you a nice glimpse, overall view of this organization. Because if it's anything like me, when I first came across the Aetherius Society and first started to read about it and investigate about it, it just was overwhelming. You know, the amount of information, the activities and missions and teachings, not only was it far out, but it was just a lot. And it's important, and I appreciate having certain lectures like this one, to help give people a nice overall view of the society, this organization, and it will give you also a better feeling if this is something that you can be a part of, this is something that you can be active in or learn from and take with you either in your own path or in this path. So before I start introducing the Aetherius Society, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself and how I came to be here today. Very briefly, I was born in Peru, raised in Northern California near San Francisco, brought up in a very cultural family, Catholic as was tradition in Peru. But it was in the early teens and in my late teens I started to have some kind of an inner search, asking the big questions that I was not finding the answers to in the church. And it felt empty, it felt like something was missing. So I started turning to the East, studying traditions and philosophies of the East, Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, yoga, and as well as to the South, in my own roots in Peru, shamanism, Andean mysticism and cosmology. So I slowly started to study these different traditions and delved in some of the practices. And I was finding a lot of the truth, a lot of what I was searching for that I was missing in the Catholic Church. But it came to a point where I had my own inner realization through certain experiences, and I came to the conclusion that it was really important to be of service in these days. And I wanted to dedicate my life to not only help the Mother Earth, which I learned to really appreciate and have a deep respect for, but the race upon this earth, humanity, humankind. And so I had this inner calling, this inner yearning to be of service. But then the question was, well, how? You know, if I'm the kind of nature, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it in the best way possible. So I wanted to find a path, I wanted to find a teacher, an organization, an outlet to be of service to humanity. And it was right around that time, synchronicity had it that I was introduced to the Aetherius Society. However, it took some time for me to really investigate the society and the teachings. Like I said, it's just a vast amount of information, and I was living in Northern California. I was far from the headquarters here, so there was a little time lapse. But eventually, I came and visited this organization. I delved a little bit more into the teachings and practices and realized that this is if not one of the most potent and powerful ways that we can be of service to humanity and to ourselves in our own path of evolution. So let's start with this introductory lecture to the Aetherius Society. Like I said, it's going to be a nice brief overview, and it's going to be quick. It's like a lot of stuff to cover in just an hour, 55 minutes actually. So bear with me. If you have any questions during the lecture, maybe just make a mental note, and we'll have about some Q&A at the end. So the Aetherius Society, it's an international, we're worldwide, it's a non-profit organization, spiritual, metaphysical, religious, educational organization that was founded in 1955 in London, England, and then later incorporated into the United States in 1960. The motto, or the heart of the Aetherius Society, you could say, is that it is dedicated to world service, to the healing and upliftment and enlightenment and salvation of this human race. And they do that through various different ways. We have, like I said, many centers worldwide. We have a headquarters here in Hollywood. We have a headquarters in London. We have various branches and official groups spread out throughout the world. We're a small organization, but we're quite spread out throughout the world. You can find centers in many continents. Now, George King, he is the founder of this organization. How did he come to found the Aetherius Society, and how did he come to take on this mission that he took on when he was alive here on Earth? And to briefly introduce him and his mission here, I'll tell you just a little bit about his life, a little background. He was born in England in 1919, and he was actually born into a family of mediums and people with advanced psychic abilities already. His mother was a medium, his grandmother was a medium, and himself at a very young age was demonstrating certain psychic abilities and advanced psychic abilities, even the ability to give healing. And he later in life decided to research this psychic phenomena, to study it, to further the practice, and he turned to occult studies, and he basically put himself 100% into this study. He wanted to know the truth behind all these things. So he did this for many years, but it came to a point when he felt something was missing. There was this whole science behind the psychic phenomena that he was experiencing, but he felt something was missing, and he turned to the practice of yoga, to the study and practice of yoga. And he dedicated himself, just like he did before, to this science wholeheartedly, and for about 10 years, he practiced between 8 to 12 hours per day various forms of yoga. And it was after this period that he became, in his own right, a master of yoga and various forms of yoga. He gained the ability to fully control this power of Kundalini, which you may or may not have heard of, and attain this very high state of consciousness known as samadhi. Not just once, but at will. He had this control, this ability to do so, to raise his vibrations to a very high state. And so that's where he was up to that point, about 1954 or so. Now, I will go into talking more about the Cosmic Masters a little bit later, but let me just mention here that the Cosmic Masters, highly advanced beings from other worlds, had a mission here on Earth. They wanted to bring forth a new message, an upgraded teaching to mankind, as well as other things. But they wanted to bring forth a message, and they needed to choose a channel, somebody that they can send these messages through. For certain reasons, they couldn't just land here and just, talk and have a conversation and fix things up. There were certain reasons that they could not just do that, for karmic reasons. But they were able to choose a channel, right, a messenger, so to speak. And they needed to find someone who could bring forth the message in the most accurate, the most precise way possible. This information was important, and it had to be clear, and it had to be accurate, like I said. So they decided to choose a master of yoga, somebody who can have this ability to concentrate very, very well, to say the least, to be able to discriminate from what is the message and what is their own ego, and to be able to attune themselves to these very high vibrations of energy. And it's a master of yoga, which is kind of like a prerequisite, so to speak, to be able to do something like that. Now, for certain other reasons, of course, George King was chosen. Nevertheless, he was chosen, and from that point on, he became used as what they refer to him as primary terrestrial mental channel. He wasn't the only channel that was being used by advanced masters, but he was the primary one. He was bringing forth these messages, these great messages and teachings from the Cosmic Masters. And for many years, throughout his life, he was delivering these, what we call transmissions, over 600 of them, more or less. And every time he had to bring forth a transmission, he would have to raise his state of consciousness into what is known as samadhi, attune himself to this high vibration of information that was coming through, and deliver it to mankind. So it took a lot, and you can just imagine what it takes to go into samadhi once. Imagine doing that 600 plus times. So he had quite a mission just bringing forth through these messages. And in the beginning, back in 1954 when he was first contacted, upon the direction of the Cosmic Masters, he was instructed to found the Aetherius Society, an organization that would be able to record these messages and disseminate these messages throughout the world, which is what they wanted to do. They wanted to get the word out. They wanted to get these teachings out. So the Aetherius Society had that initial purpose, but it soon went on to more things, greater things, cooperating more directly with these cosmic masters and ascended masters in certain world missions that were developed for the purpose of healing mankind, for the purpose of balancing the karma of the human race, and for enlightenment throughout this world. So I will go into a little bit about how the Aetherius Society is active in that way with the missions later on. So, the New World. The Cosmic Masters, like I said, they wanted to bring forth this message, a new message. I'm hesitant to say the word new because there's nothing really new in creation. You know, everything is here, right? It's just a matter of us remembering these truths, a matter of us remembering our own divinity and our own godness. And so it might be better to say it's an upgraded concept of reality, an expanded concept of reality, of our own selves, helping us to remember these deeper truths. And it was given, and they decided a very particular point in the history of mankind to do this. And this was, like I said, started back in the last century. They were really, they wanted to give this new level of understanding and wisdom to those who are ready. You know, there are many people. It's sad because at that time, when you looked around the world, I wasn't physically here then, but you know, I know what I've been told what the situation was like. You know, we had world wars, you know, atomic experimentation. The state of humanity was sad. It was sad. Nevertheless, there were those who were working on themselves. There were those who were going down the spiritual path, trying to be light workers back then. And it was to those who were in the least bit ready, you know, for this spiritual upgrade that the Cosmic Masters were trying to reach and speak to. And the Cosmic Masters knew it wasn't going to be just for the people back in the 50s and 60s. They knew that these teachings were going to, you know, be timeless. They were going to spread throughout the centuries that were going to follow. Nevertheless, they were bringing forth these teachings. Now, I just want to say that these teachings, you know, although they come from a source that we're not used to receiving teachings from, they were not given in any way to invalidate some of the teachings we've already been given here on earth, some of the traditions that have already happened here on earth in Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, etc. These great masters that founded these religions, the Lord Buddha, Sri Krishna, the Master Jesus, Lao Tse, Patanjali, you know, and others, we have been told that they too were cosmic masters that came to this earth to deliver a teaching, an upgraded spirituality to mankind, to help raise humanity that little bit more in whatever way they could at that time. And these beings, like I said, you know, they're very highly advanced beings. They were delivering these messages, and within these messages there were these truths. You know, so it's very interesting when you start to study different traditions of the past, and even nowadays, there's this golden thread of truth, right, that you can kind of feel. It resonates and it makes sense, not only intuition, in your own intuition, in your intellect, in your body. And the Aetherius Society teachings, if anything, reinforces this golden thread, this truth, this universal truth that you find throughout various different traditions and paths and spiritual organizations. So if you have had some background in Eastern religion and thought or other ancient traditions, you will find a lot of similarities within the teachings of the Aetherius Society. Now, I did also want to mention that even though some of the teachings that were being brought forth by the Cosmic Masters were to include a much broader concept of reality, where they talk about life beyond Earth, evolution beyond Earth, the greatness of the sun, etc., which will I touch upon in a little bit. These concepts, nevertheless, have been referred to in the past. In fact, even in the major religions of the world. And I'm just going to mention a few really quickly. In the Buddhist tradition, back in that time, even the Buddha taught that the Earth is not the center of the universe. It's not the only planet with intelligent life. There are other, world systems with life, and even on those planetary systems, There are Buddhas who are teaching the Buddha Dharma. Mind you, it probably was not a widely public information. It probably wasn't just given out to the general public in those times. It was probably reserved to very close disciples or by initiation only in much more closer circles. You know, in Hindu tradition, there are various different references to life beyond Earth, to extraterrestrial visitors, to spacecraft. You know, the Vinmanas has been known by that name. And there, even in the Vedic texts, there was this one Vedic text that this Dr. Raghavan studied. And it's fascinating. I just learned about this this year, that the whole text itself is dedicated to explaining how these spacecrafts are made, the construction of the spacecraft, further details of the workings of the spacecraft. And this is 4,000 years ago. So this doctor who studied, this scholastic doctor who studied this Sanskrit, you know, just it became obvious to him that this knowledge is not new. They've known about it for thousands of years. So like I said, these seeds, this concept has already been around in the past. And even as well as the Christian tradition, in the Bible, you know, it's a fascinating book if you look at it from a ET contact point of view. I know the Bible has been, you know, messed around with, cut and edited, unfortunately. Nevertheless, there are some great truths contained in the Bible and great accounts of flying saucers, of extraterrestrial visitors, of encounters like such. One of the main ones, one of the most important ones, being the birth of Jesus and the Star of Bethlehem, which was not a star. You know, stars don't move across the sky like that. And even nowadays, I wanted to put this in because I thought it was just a fascinating example of how the mind belt of humanity, just humanity at large, is slowly starting to come to some of these realizations. Back in 2008, there was this article that was published about the Vatican's chief astronomer, Reverend Jose Gabriel Funes, who was basically coming out and saying that, you know, the title of the headline, "The Extraterrestrial is My Brother." He was putting forth the idea that not only could there be intelligent life on other worlds, but that this life could possibly be more advanced than us, closer to God than us, and that they are our brothers, right? So that there's, even within the Catholic tradition, in the Catholic Church and the Christian tradition, these things were slowly starting to come to the surface. Now, science. Now, before I go in a bit further into this worldview, this expanded concept of reality that the cosmic masters were giving to mankind, to humanity, I just wanted to mention that science has been very active in this past century and today in this outer exploration. You know, they're looking out there for something, but in the process, they're discovering, you know, all these galaxies and planets and these celestial bodies, and it's amazing. If you see some of the pictures that they come up with from the Hubble telescope and others, it's fascinating. It's mind-blowing just to see what is out there. And so science is discovering all these things out there, but it's still this common thought in Orthodox religion, just in general on Earth, in some of the Orthodox spiritual traditions, that we live a life. We try to do the best we can. If we're good, we go to heaven forever, eternity. We do bad, you go to hell for eternity. But that's it. Okay, Buddhism and Hinduism, you've got this karmic reincarnation that allows you multiple lives, but at the end result, boom, nirvana, or boom, back to one with the Absolute or Brahman. But then you think, well, then what about all that? Is it just us, and then that's just, you know, just decoration, you know, for us to see pretty pictures in the sky? It doesn't make sense. I mean, just logically, you know, intellectually. You know, this is where some of my background as a math major in the university kind of helped, because, you know, I was like, this doesn't make sense, you know, and intuitively you feel it too. You feel it too. The metaphysician, though, you know, they're more along the right line of thought. You know, in occult and metaphysical studies and teachings, you will find that this is prevails throughout. Everything is alive. Everything is sentient, right? From the cell on my skin to this table, to the bugs, to the planets, to the sun, to the galaxy, everything is alive, right? And there's a direction to that. Everything is evolving, right? Everything is moving. Everything is evolving. Back to what? Back to the source. Back to it. Back to God. However you like to call it. And not only is everything evolving, right? Not only do we live our lives here, and yes, everything is alive. Okay, we understand that. But our evolution does not end here on Earth. Okay? And this is now part of this expanded concept of reality that the Cosmic Masters really would like us to realize and remember. Right? We live lives, yes, through karmic reincarnation. We live multiple lives here on Earth to learn lessons, to grow, to evolve, to discover more about God and our true self. There comes a point when we go through our cycle of karmic reincarnation on Earth. We break it or go beyond it. We ascend. Jesus, 2,000 years ago, gave a wonderful example of this ascension process, this breaking the cycle of reincarnation. We ascend. We can take on ourselves a more subtle body that can last, hundreds, if not thousands of years. We can continue to grow and evolve. We're given the choice either to remain on Earth and join the spiritual hierarchy of Earth, which has been known by various names, the Great White Brotherhood, the Great White Lodge, etc. And by being a part of this spiritual hierarchy of Earth, we can either, not either, but the purpose of staying behind is to help the rest of our brothers and sisters evolve as well, to realize themselves as well, to come to this initiation of ascension as well. Now there's another choice, right, that these beings have once you reach this point of ascension. Right, we can go on to other classrooms. Right? On these other planets, there are higher realms, right, which higher vibratory realms, where life streams can choose to go after their, shall we say, time here on Earth. After learning the lessons here on Earth, they can continue to grow and evolve on these other classrooms, and continue to learn how to be of service to the rest of creation. But now it's on a much more larger scale. You're dealing with the solar system and the galaxy. So, why now? Why are the Cosmic Masters bringing the message to humanity now at this time, in this past century? It's been prophesied throughout the ages. It's been talked about in all kinds of traditions about this new age upon our Earth, this heaven on earth kind of a thing. And yes, that's a part of it, and I'll go into that and describe that better. But specifically, when they started back in 1954, these messages through George King, and even before that with all these flying saucer sightings around 45 and near the later part of the World War II, humanity was involved in atomic experimentation. We were playing with something that we did not know how to control or use properly. It was like a toddler, getting a hold of a knife or a gun, right? Yes, certain tools can be used in certain ways, but we did not know how to use this science. I mean, look what we did. We had Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So that right there, just that incident right there, exploding these bombs and causing massive, massive destruction, not only to life, but to the Mother Earth herself, we demonstrated to our elders, so to speak, we demonstrated that we're at a point of destroying ourselves, of destroying this whole civilization. Not only that, but worse, we're at a point where we can harm the Mother Earth, this advanced planetary being, this goddess, who chose to sacrifice her evolution for us. So it was a very big no-no, so to speak. And so they decided that, we've got something has got to be done now and soon. Not only were we affecting ourselves here on Earth, right, but we were also starting to go out into space. We were sending out missiles and rockets, and now we're exploding parts of comets and the moon. It wasn't a good thing. We've been told that our actions here on Earth have a certain karmic repercussion, right? It bears a certain amount of karma, whether good or bad. However, our actions out in space, those are multiplied 3 million times, we've been told. So you can imagine the implications of, for example, L-Cross, which happened recently, of exploding a bomb on the moon or a missile on the moon. It was not very good for the karma of humanity. So another reason the Cosmic Masters were deciding to be active at this time. However, back to this new age, this new world, I want to mention and talk about a little bit the primary initiation of the Mother Earth. This is the reason, the most important reason that we're going into the new age at this time. So just so you know, back in 1964, and July the 8th, the Mother Earth, she received her initiation. She received an amount of energy so big. It's been said that she has not received this amount of energy since her inception as a planet. And it's with this energy that she is going to ascend. She is going to take on a new body. She is going to create a new world and bring forth a new age upon her back. And so the new age is about the Mother Earth. It isn't about humanity. It's not because we deserve it. It's not because we're ready to evolve into this glorious new age. It's about her. Yes, we should do everything that we can to evolve, to enjoy this new world, this new age on the Mother Earth. But we should remember that these changes that are happening, this rise in vibration that is going on around the world, it's about this goddess that we live upon. Now, before I continue a little bit further, back to the Aetherius Society and its activities and missions, over 600 transmissions came through, amazing teachings. I mean, you can just take a look at our book stall. Profound teachings, life-changing teachings, heart-opening, soul-opening, and it's vast, covering a variety of different topics. But it can be summed up. There is a soul to all the messages. And instead of me trying to explain it, I figured I'd play a little clip here, a video clip, which was given back in 1958 in London on the BBC, and it was actually a live interview. And our master, Dr. George King, went into Samadhi to bring forth a transmission on live TV. It was pretty dangerous. I mean, I don't know if you know a little bit about Samadhi, but it's a very dangerous state. If something goes wrong, the person can even go paralyzed, die. So George King was taking a big risk in doing this. Nevertheless, he took this message, he took this transmission. I'll just let you see for yourself.
Now, who is going to speak through you this evening, if you can get in touch?
Intelligence from the planet Venus, who we call Aetherius.
Right. Will you now try to go into a trance for us?
I will try,
yes. Mr. King has explained to me that, in fact, it may take him 30 seconds, even perhaps as much as a minute, to get into a trance. And during this time, he has suggested that we should be entirely silent, and so we will be. We will wait for the voice if it comes through Mr. King.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My dear friend.
Your name is?
I am known as Aetherius.
Where do you come from?
The planet Venus.
Where are you speaking from now?
I am sorry, my dear friend, I cannot answer that question for you.
I had wondered simply whether you were in a vehicle of some kind, a spaceship described by Mr. King when he was talking to me, or whether you were in your normal abode. But you can't tell me that?
No.
You do travel, normally, in what Mr. King has described as flying saucers when you move about space, do you?
Yes, that is quite correct. We have indeed been visiting this earth of yours for some 18 million of your earth years.
And when you come here, what is your purpose in coming?
At the moment, Earth, as you call it, faces a certain situation. The situation can be described as a rather a dangerous one. You are liable to upset the balance of your earth through, number one, atomic experimentation, and number two, your deviation from the spiritual laws.
And your visits are designed to warn us against this?
Yes.
Can anybody see flying saucers when they arrive?
Oh, yes. The vehicles that you call flying saucers are quite physical. If you're fired a 16-inch shell at the hull of a flying saucer, it would burst when it came into contact with the force screen or protective barrier around the vessel.
Is there one single message that you would like to give us this evening? I'm afraid it must be brief. You'll understand that.
Yes. I would like to say this. If you are a Christian, then live the laws as laid down by Jesus. If you are a Buddhist, live the laws as laid down by Buddha. If you are a Hindu, then be the best Hindu. This procedure is the one true way for men of earth to save themselves from their lower aspects.
Thank you, Aetherius, very much indeed.
Good night.
Good night.
We were deviating from the spiritual laws. We were deviating from our true self, from God, from divinity, from our spirit. The Cosmic Masters, more than anything, wanted us to go back to God, to go back to our spirit, to go back to this divine heritage that is within us all. And in whichever way you choose. And that's the beauty, I think, of this path back to God. There are many rivers that flow to the ocean. You know, whether you're in the Christian path or the Hindu tradition or Buddhist tradition, be the best that you can in that tradition. Whatever you choose, but choose a path and move. Because, you know, like we mentioned before, these traditions, these spiritual paths of the past, have been founded by great cosmic masters, by our spiritual elders. So we can easily evolve greatly, quickly, by just dedicating ourselves wholeheartedly, like the Master Aetherius mentioned, being the best that we can on that path. Now, I want to go into a little bit about the path of the Aetherius Society, because although we were very active in putting forth these teachings and the missions, it is also a spiritual path on a personal level. It can be a path back to God. It can be a path to realization, and more importantly, a path of service to others. But before I go into that, I wanted to talk a little bit about karma, this concept of karma. I think it'll help you better understand some of the missions and activities of the Aetherius Society. So briefly, karma: as you sow, so shall you reap. Action and reaction are opposite and equal. It's this law of creation, this law of God, an aspect of God. You know, we do good things tend to happen to us. We do not so good things tend to happen to us. But when you start to look at this law of karma, you realize there's a direction to it. Why is it that when we do good, good happens? Why is it that when we do bad, bad happens? When you really start to study this law, you realize it's a pressure with a direction. And our master, I think, described it beautifully when he said that karma is a pressure towards conformity. It's bringing you, the mind, you, the soul, back to you, the spirit. And it's this pressure through these karmic experiences, through these lessons, through our failures, through our successes, that we slowly are starting to come back to the center, to our center, to divinity, to the absolute, to oneness. And that's the law of karma. Right? It's not there to punish us if we do bad things. It is there to teach us, if anything. And it is through this law of karma, which as a result we have reincarnation, it is through this law that we can evolve. It is through this law of karma that we can learn our lessons, go through ascension and beyond, and continue our evolution back to God. And as we have personal karma, as we have our own personal actions, I myself have my personal karma, we have collective karma. You have the karma of your family, the karma of a nation, karma of a race, karma of a planet, and beyond, karma of a solar system, of a galaxy. Right? So you see, because even ourselves, we are a collective entity when you think about it. We're a collection of all these little cells and organs and yada, 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 that together act as me or you and create a karma. So it makes sense that it also happens collectively on a larger scale. Now back to our personal karma, I do want to mention that karma, it can be manipulated and worked with. It's not something that's set in stone. If I do all these bad things, you know, it's not like, oh man, I'm going to have hell coming back to me now because I did all these bad things, even though I may have realized the lesson. It can be manipulated. There are actions that you can do that can help transmute some of your negative karma, that can help further push you down the right path, that can help some of the other positive aspects of your own path. It can be manipulated and worked with. Likewise, collective karma can be manipulated and worked with. And specifically in the Aetherius Society, world karma can be manipulated and worked with. And this is how the Aetherius Society really stands out as a unique organization on our world today through some of these missions, which I will slowly talk about, that are about world karmic manipulation. Now just briefly, I wanted to show you this little chart just so you can get an idea of where the Aetherius Society stands in relation to all these greater entities. As you can see, the Aetherius Society really is a tool. It is a tool for these greater beings to be used in order to help the human race, in order to help evolve and heal and enlighten the human race. Through, I will go into in a minute some of these cosmic missions. Right? The Aetherius Society doesn't act on its own, like I said in the beginning. One of the main things, the most important things of the Aetherius Society is its cooperation with cosmic and ascended masters in helping the upliftment, healing, and salvation of our human race. So the cosmic missions. This is the heart of the Aetherius Society. This is the crux of the Aetherius Society. This is where the Aetherius Society really, really shines. And it's one of the most important ways that the Aetherius Society is of service to mankind in these days. Now, I'll just go over them briefly. I don't have a lot of time because there's a lot to each of these missions, but I'll just touch on a few points on a few of these missions so you can get a general flavor of what it's about. Operation Sunbeam. Operation Sunbeam, for me, I think it's one of the most beautiful missions being performed on this earth today. It's this concept of giving back to the Mother Earth. A little bit in thanks and in repayment for all that, sadly, we have raped from her throughout the centuries and millennia. We've abused her resources, her materials, and if there's any somewhat of a realization in you that yes, the Mother Earth is a living being and her goddess, that she is a goddess and highly evolved being, it only makes sense that we would want to give thanks. And not only thanks, but give back to the Mother Earth all that we have taken in the past. And Operation Sunbeam does just this on a very, very large scale. Because in some of the indigenous traditions, there is this reverence for the Mother Earth. They do certain ceremonies that symbolically give back to the Mother Earth, whether it's an offering or some kind of sacrifice. They're symbolically trying to say, Mother Earth, I appreciate you, I recognize you as this highly evolved being, let me give this back to you, right? It's more of a symbolic gesture, and it's a good thing for them to have that in their mind. But Operation Sunbeam actually manifests that symbolism, right? Energy is actually being sent through psychic centers to the Mother Earth herself, using certain radionic equipment that the Aetherius Society has. It is able to do this. And it has had amazing karmic implications. I mean, just imagine some humans that represent the human race are, for the first time in who knows how long, is actually taking some energy, spiritual, high vibratory energy, and giving it back to the Mother Earth in an effective way. Now, it's maybe not a lot compared to all the energy she uses, but nevertheless, it is an amount of energy being given back. And it's just a beautiful thing when you really think about it. Operation Prayer Power. I think this is a wonderful opportunity open to anybody. It's an opportunity, and I say it's wonderful and beautiful as well, because it enables us to be a very potent service to our brothers and sisters around the world. You know, once you start to dawn this realization that we're all connected, you are my brother, you are my sister, we are a family, it's only logical that we want to help each other, that we want to serve each other. You know, if I recognize that my hand is actually part of my body, I would want to take care of my hand. So when I realize that we're all connected, I would want to help the people who are suffering on, you know, say, in the other side of the world, China, India, you know, Afghanistan, etc. So it's this inner yearning to help the world, and Operation Prayer Power gives you that outlet, that ability, that opportunity to do just that. Every week here in the society, and there are different prayer power centers in the society throughout the world, every week we come together, and it's like I say, it's open to everybody. It's not just something close to Aetherius Society members. We come together through mantra and prayer. We can invoke this high vibratory energy, and we can actually store it in a physical battery, which you can see up there, which is another radionic apparatus that the Aetherius Society has, was invented by George King. This energy can be stored in this battery and later can be hooked up to another apparatus which can draw out the energy, send it out through an antenna to a particular part on the world that needs this highly uplifting energy. So you think about it, week after week, we put in dozens and dozens and dozens of prayer hours of energy. Slowly this starts to accumulate. Slowly we have hundreds of prayer hours of highly concentrated and high vibratory spiritual energy. And if something's going on in the world, whether it's a natural catastrophe, or some kind of relief efforts needed, a political upheaval, this energy can then be just directed almost instantly to that place and point. So, like I said, it's a wonderful opportunity available to anybody, and it's a great way to really help our brothers and sisters around the world. Now, the last mission I wanted to mention is Operation Space Power. During certain times of the year, there's this very large spacecraft we call satellite number 3 that comes into orbit of Earth. And the purpose of this spacecraft is to give to humanity, to give to Earth, to give to us more energy, to give us an opportunity to be of service in a more potent way. How do they do this? Well, very briefly, all spiritual action that we do during this time, in whatever tradition or non-tradition we do it as, whether it's our spiritual practices at home, our prayers, our healing, just helping your neighbor next door, just counseling somebody, all our actions are potentized 3,000 times. This satellite is able to somehow, I don't know how, but somehow beam this energy onto those spiritual workers in a way that their actions are magnified that much more. And Operation Space Power, and what this is another mission the Aetherius Society performs, is a way, as you can see there, the spiritual energy radiator is one of the radionic apparatuses we use. This mission is a way for us to have this energy come through our machines and then basically blanket the world. So I kind of think of it as the mother bird pre-digesting the food before it gives it to its offspring. In a way, by going through our physical human-made machines, it's digesting the energy, in a way I say digested, but it's giving a human touch to it that makes it just a little bit more accessible to humans. And it's a very, very potent way that we can not only help each other, but also speed up our evolution. And it's actually during these times of year, I think there's 4 times during the year, we're actually in that period now, and we call them spiritual pushes, where we just try to be as spiritually active as possible. So like I said, I also wanted to introduce the path of the Aetherius Society, because it does come to a personal level. Yes, it's far out and cosmic with the teachings and the missions, and it's global. It is, yes, and it's very, very vast. Nevertheless, it is a path. It is a spiritual path on an individual basis that can take us back to God, that can help us evolve here on Earth, help us learn our lessons here on Earth. And like I said, there are many paths, there are many rivers, and whether or not you choose to perhaps embark on this path, nevertheless, within this path there are certain things that can help you regardless of whether or not this becomes part of your life. But I want to briefly just go over it a little bit, because it can be so vast, it can be just so overwhelming. We have simplified it into 3 main points: service, knowledge, and development, self-development, spiritual development. Service, service, service. That is the key in these days. It is one of the most important things that we can do, not only to help with this coming of the new age, but also to speed up our own evolution. Nevertheless, it is also important to have the right knowledge so that we can learn how to be of most effective service. And at the same token, to have spiritual development, to spiritually develop ourselves so that we can gain greater ability to be of service to our brothers and sisters. And also to fortify ourselves, to strengthen ourselves spiritually in the midst of these crazy times, in the midst of our karma yoga, of our service to others. So I'll just briefly take you through some of these points. Within the Aetherius Society, in the knowledge pillar, so to speak, we've broken it down into 3 parts. You have your basic metaphysics, right? The Cosmic Masters, as well as George King, have taught about these ABCs, so to speak, of spirituality, of metaphysics, of the science of spirituality, the foundation blocks upon which some of the higher teachings are built upon. Karma and reincarnation, the Devic kingdom, the spirit worlds, life after death, the spiritual hierarchy of Earth. man's mind, some of these basic concepts, although basic, very essential for us to study and learn about. Again, a lot of this is taught through the Aetherius Society, and it becomes a foundation for us to really delve into and better understand the cosmic wisdom that comes forth through the Aetherius Society, or has come through the Aetherius Society. Learning about creation and evolution, learning about the cosmic plan here on Earth, learning about how we got here, why we're here, where are we going, the initiation of Earth, which I talked about earlier. Some of these greater concepts can be learned here in the Aetherius Society and help you in your own path. And the third part is knowledge of the lower astral realms, the lower astral wars. This is kind of a topic on its own. I won't spend too much time in it, except just to mention that there are different realms of vibration on Earth. We have different planes of existence. We have higher realms, we have lower realms. The higher realms, you may think of them as the heavens. The lower realms, you may think of them as the hells. And it is in these hells that great advanced spiritual beings have gone to basically to fight battles against evil centers down there. And these evil centers have an influence over mankind on this realm. Right? This is kind of like the attic. If your attic is really messy and really dirty, you're going to sense it in your house. And it's going to affect the house. So these battles, these wars, have happened in the lower astral realms. They've been cleaned up, so to speak, and it's helped, yet in another way, helped mankind to evolve just that little bit quicker, to have less holdbacks, less influence from this negative realm, to help us further evolve. And a lot of that information and teaching is given through the society and some of the teachings. So I just won't go into too many of them right now, just for time-wise. Spiritual development. It is also important to us to develop our own spiritual abilities, our own development. Some of the basic practices, pranayama, we just had a pranayama class, just recently. Mantra, prayer, visualization. Some of these practices are very essential, like I said, not just for our own spiritual development, but to strengthen ourselves spiritually in the world, in the time, in the world we're living in, as well as developing our intuition. We can't always lead with our left brain. We can't always lead with our intellect, and it comes in handy. It's a very potent tool, but we also have to develop our intuition. There's knowledge from within, and there are certain practices that we teach here in the Aetherius Society to help develop that. And at the same token, it's also important to have protection in these times. We teach certain practices of protection here in the Aetherius Society because it's realized that not everybody is trying to help you out. Not everybody is trying to do good in the world. And just as we, wear helmets when we're driving on a motorcycle, or wear certain padding when we're involved in certain high contact activities, it's important to have spiritual protection when we're living amongst these times, when we're starting to evolve and raise our vibration. So we also teach certain practices that can help us do this and help us better down along the path. And of course, last but probably at the top is service, like I was saying back in the beginning. It is the key to the New Age. It is the key to our evolution in these times. And in whatever way we can, we should be of service. In whatever degree, whether it's locally, globally, or in this case, in the Aetherius Society, cosmically, through some of the cosmic missions. Locally, just simple things. Here in the Aetherius Society, I'm just talking about now, learning the technique of spiritual healing, giving spiritual healing to others. We teach that in the Aetherius Society, and it's open to anybody. It's a great way to be of service on a personal level, in a local level with your community, helping out the organization, the Aetherius Society organization, in a physical way. It only makes sense logically that if this organization is so actively involved in these cosmic missions and helping mankind, by us helping this organization, we're also in a way helping the world. So physical assistance, even just speaking of truth to others. We learn these teachings here in the society. Just by us studying those, we're imbuing the mind belt with this high thought, but also by speaking to others, giving them counsel and advice from what we have learned from our own development and wisdom is another way to be of service to our fellow brothers and sisters locally. Globally, in the Aetherius Society, I'll talk about these two things in a minute, but the practice of the 12 blessings, going on spiritual pilgrimages to holy mountains to tap into the energy and send it out to the world. So now it's not just the local level, we're not just helping our immediate community, we're trying to reach the world. And cosmically, like I mentioned earlier, some of these cosmic missions, it's on a global scale, but it has a cosmic connection with these cosmic masters and this cosmic energy. Briefly wanted to talk about the service of the 12 blessings. The 12 blessings. Before I came to the society, and even during my time in the society, I participated in many different kinds of ceremonies, in occult ceremonies, shamanistic ceremonies, and nothing really compares to the magic of the ceremony, of the ritual, of the practice of the 12 blessings. It's beautiful, it's complete, it's balanced. I mean, just think about it. In the service of the 12 blessings, we send out our blessings, our thanks, our gratitude to these different beings, those who work for peace, those who heal, the Mother Earth, the Sun, the galaxy, and beyond. So it's a way for us to take that love energy that we feel inside or that we realize, send it to those great beings. And not only that, it doesn't stop there. By the law of karma, we get part of this energy back, right? We get a reciprocation of this energy. And then we send it out to our brothers and sisters throughout the world through these prayers that were given in the 12 blessings. You can learn a little bit more about the 12 blessings. We have a book that there was actual full transmission. It's a whole subject in itself, but I'll just mention right there that it's a very potent way of being of service to our brothers and sisters. And come to one of our 12 blessing services Monday nights. Have an experience. Check it out for yourself. It is an amazing experience. It is. And I think it is one of the most potent ways that we can be of service to the world, that we can do in our homes. Spiritual healing. I know some of you here recently took the spiritual healing course. This is another way to be of very good service in this way locally, and in some cases more than that. By connecting with somebody as your sister, your brother, channeling this love energy, and giving it and imbuing them with high vibratory energy to help bring about their own healing. It's not only good for them, it also helps yourself heighten your own vibrations, as those of you who practice spiritual healing will find. And spiritual pilgrimage. We've actually got one coming up this Saturday. This is another way of being of service to the world as a whole. There are certain holy mountains around the world that are imbued with a particular cosmic energy. I won't go into how that happened, but there are certain mountains around the world, 19, that have this very specific type of energy that makes it easy for us to access. Us meaning just me, you, ordinary people. I'm not like spiritually advanced. I'm not an adept. I can't dematerialize. We can go up to these mountains and we can easily access this energy and easily send it out to the world. It's not like certain retreats or certain holy places around the world, like in the Himalayas or the Andes or up here in Mount Shasta, where you have to be a bit advanced to not only invoke these energies, but then send them out. And so with these 19 holy mountains that we've been told about in the Aetherius Society, it gives us another opportunity to have access to a very potent, very high vibratory energy that we can easily send out to the world. So during certain times of the year, the Aetherius Society worldwide holds pilgrimages to these holy mountains, come together as a group. Whether you're part of the Aetherius Society or not, it doesn't matter. We're just there to send out energy to the world. So it's another beautiful experience. I invite you to come check it out sometime. Our last one of the year is in October, next Saturday. Otherwise, we'll start up next season in May. So before I close, I wanted to play over a little extract here, which again gives a nice summary message of what the Cosmic Masters are trying to tell us in these days. It's a short one. It's only about a couple minutes. And before I go into that, I'll just briefly introduce it. The Master Aetherius earlier in the transmission was talking about, this new age, this new world that is among us. It's going to happen. But look at where we are now. How are we going to get there? And what is the best way for us to get there and to be involved in this process, to evolve ourselves? This is the Master Aetherius, and about a couple minutes.
How can you do this? I will repeat myself for your benefit. By being of service to others, and by being of service to others at this holy time, bringing down the great energy and power from satellite number 3 down through you out unto your suffering brother, to suffering downtrodden humanity, and helping to raise them. This is the great key, the great yoga, the great practice, the great Christianity, the great religion, the greatest deeds that you can do in these days. Service, service, service is the key which will open the doors to all the powers, to all forms of enlightenment. Service to others. 1,000 years ago, it was meditation in the silence. Today it is service in the noise, service in the clatter, service in the foulness, in the smell, in the ignorance of mankind. Use the great powers, my dear friends. I appeal to you. And then all the things of nature will be given unto you.
There you go. I mean, it's service. It's service to others. It's service to our brothers and sisters, which are a part of ourselves. And in the Aetherius Society, I came to realize, like I mentioned earlier, it's one of the most potent ways that we can be of service, not only through the teachings and some of the practices, but through the missions. And whether or not, this is something that resonates with you, that you feel that you can be a part of or be active in, nevertheless, there are teachings in the Aetherius Society, practices in the Aetherius Society, ways and opportunities for anybody, from whatever path or tradition you're in, to be of service to the world in these days and in these ways. And it is important that we do act and that we do be of service now, at this time in our history. It is critical. I mean, you just take a look around the world. Things are just bubbling. Things are bubbling. Things are on the brink of happening, good and bad. And our actions now are that much more important. Maybe a couple thousand years ago, our actions had a certain, how shall we say, karma attached to them. But now it's like we're at the bottom of the ninth. We're down one run. Every little bit counts. Right? And this is not a game, but a poor analogy, but every little bit counts. Because it's the Mother Earth, remember, who's rising in her vibration. And it's up to us to also raise our vibrations through service, through studying the teachings, going back to the truth, to ourself, to our oneness, to our divine spirit. So I want to thank you for coming, and I also wanted to extend an invitation. Like I said, come check it out. If something here resonates with you, come to a service, come to one of our activities, our pilgrimages. You're more than welcome to just come by here anytime and just speak with one of us. We're more than happy to further, just discuss more about the Aetherius Society with you and ways that you can be of service through the Aetherius Society.
Thank you, Oscar.
All right.